Okay,
and
so
it says responsible agency department, town council, active transportation committee. So our road department, I think we've done a great job. The three of us on the road department are right here. We looked at it, we know it's a mess, we know people don't like those jitters up and down. It became $1 million project. So now it goes out of just fixing the road and goes into a major funding project. So I think road department, I think we need to get a committee and start working with someone if we want to move it forward. And in the meantime, the road department can refocus, get speed tables or speed bumps on Mulberry to slow that traffic down so that people aren't racing to buy that street.
okay, let's focus on what's before us, which
Okay, but
is,
it's
are we approving or not moving forward on what Jones and DeMilk have submitted? Or are we just at a stalemate and we're going to do nothing?
Yeah, I guess where, sorry, I had my hand up, but I guess where I'm confused is, so you know, we tried to add the 6 feet extra of asphalt, but apparently that's not going to work. And then that will, if we don't have that piece done a certain way, the ADA part, then we won't get federal funding. But if we drop that, had that as a secondary project, which to me, it sounds like totally a secondary project. I mean, like, there's one thing to repave or redo a road, and it's another thing to expand it into what active transportation wants, which I understand. But like, if we excluded the bike path, can we move forward on the repaving? Like, I mean, I'm just confused, and I'm afraid this is just going to spiral into nothing. And then we won't get anything for years, especially if we start throwing more people into what seemed like a straightforward project at first. So, and I would hate to throw, you know, the baby out with the bathwater, and like, you don't get a bike path, but you know, now we still don't have speed bumps on the road we're talking about. We still don't have the repaving on the road we're talking about, which would all be better than what we currently have. So I'm just a little confused about process here. And yeah, and honestly, I'm worried for Michael's patience on all this. This has been spiraling. It's palpable, you know, so I'm just, you know, I'm concerned about all those things. And, you know, he's a volunteer and it's been a lot of his time. And the engineers will do whatever they, you know, we ask them to. They can draw a million things. So I'm trying to figure out the process here. And like, if we should separate them, if it's becoming this large project, which I feel like if it's a 10-foot gap and another 10-foot space, then we're definitely going to have to put in bridges and the whole nine. And I'm worried about, honestly, federal funding in general, like just period, like outside of even that ADA requirement. So that's my comment.
So the problem is with the federal funding is that we can't get federal funding for roads if the other users aren't considered. So it would get tossed aside, and we could get a CIB grant, possibly. We'd need to bump this to the top of the CIB list. We could do the trail separately and then do the road, because the trail people already be considered, then we could apply for the roadway. But
So while I was waiting to try to get a hold of Tim Helper today, the question I had is consideration of an ADA walkway or consideration of a bike path is part of what the federal government says, but it doesn't say it's a mandatory component of a road. And Michael, you had your hand up. I mean, let Michael respond.
Yeah, so this project, first of all, $1 million that's been on, you know, when I did an order of magnitude on roads in 2019, it was $1 million for this project. So that's nothing new. The funding would likely, if it's through UDOT, it would likely come from the infrastructure bill that was passed with the previous administration. That's what I was told by Jones and DeMille. I can't speak of the CIB, but and you know, it has nothing to do really, you know, with ADA. It's resurfacing a roadway with a little add-on just to make it a little wider for pedestrians and bicycles. And I don't know why you wouldn't be able to push a wheelchair in that area either. So You know, if you want to go to a pathway, there's complications, and I just talked to Tim Alpha before I came in. You know, it's complicated because there's a drainage issue. You know, the road, water runs off the road, or run into a separate pathway. So how do you deal with? I mean, there's problems with it that can be resolved, but it's a big problem. The drainage right now on Black Locust is real bad. You know, currently because of and that stems from when they did the bypass. You know, they created a dam coming around from 7th Street on down to 5th Street. So what this is just simply improving the old highway. I don't know if you have any other questions. You know, it's 1,041,000. Right now, the way it sits with what Johnson DeMille has done at this point, it's at a stage where it can be submitted to funding sources, just as it is right now.
Michael, you had also mentioned the possibility of approaching the county for back road repairs, and I wonder if, you know, I mean, what the likelihood is with that, and if we delay that even more, I would imagine that likelihood shrinks.
So when you say the county, you mean
Well, I don't know, you had mentioned that because that road has not been maintained, obviously, in the last 40 years, that
Right.
perhaps we could seek funding for back damages, for lack of a better word. I don't know.
well, you know, my thinking was that would be an argument to CIB.
Right.
You know, another thing is I have a meeting with the county transportation service area board, and I'm going to send this to Kelly Pearson next week if it's approved. And who knows what will happen? You know, just try it. You know, and that's a situation the way it's been explained to me. They would go. The transportation board goes to CIB. You still have to sell the project to CIB. And then they would get 50% grant, and then they would carry, transportation board would carry the loan at low increase. They've done a lot of projects like that.
Michael, what is the advantage of widening it? It's currently 22 feet wide and you want to go to 30.
No,
You want to go to 36. They proposed 30 plus an extra 6.
yeah,
So
overall.
22 to 36 feet of added blacktop.
Yeah.
Is there an advantage to doing that?
Well, the advantage would be, it would be 6 feet of that would be delineated to accommodate bikes and pedestrians.
So that's a really expensive bike path. If it's an
No,
extra
it's not gonna be,
16 feet.
In the discussion I've had so far, there wouldn't be any more, you know, nobody's told me it'd be any more expensive. I mean,
So if you had 16 feet, if you can shrink it to 20 to 25 instead of 36, there's 10 feet of asphalt that you can not pay for and use for the trail.
But by doing a separate trail, if you have the 10-foot walkway in between that and then the trail, and then an additional 10-foot walkway, I think that your expense is going to be quite a bit higher than just adding the additional 6 feet of
And
asphalt.
It's just a 10-foot, I'm sorry, I can't share my screen for everybody online and YouTube and the rest, but here is the drawing that it would be, here's private property, there's the 10-foot buffer, and then there's the trail. There's the extra space for benches, bushes, so that it's separated. Because as we said, paint does not protect. They don't consider paint a protection. There are too many people injured and killed on it. So this is the 25 foot, and that leaves 44 feet here.
Right, so, but the additional 30 feet that's over here is going to be much more, I mean, if we're just looking at cost
Now,
effectiveness.
this is just dirt.
Yeah,
this
but
is
there's
the dirt.
stuff that has to go along with the dirt.
So part of the problem right now with this discussion in my mind is, one, all the information, Lou, that you're presenting now hasn't gone to the council. It's not posted anywhere for people to know, even for the council members other than myself to have sat down with. secondly, we're off topic. The question is whether or not we're ready to approve the engineering proposal that was submitted by Jones and DeMille. So I move that we accept the proposal as submitted by Jones and DeMille.
I second.
Any further discussion?
That's including the 6 feet of,
Yes, as submitted.
Well, they didn't submit the 6 foot, that was just verbal. The submitted is 30 feet.
So Michael, is that part of the discussion that you had, that that's included in this bid,
And we're gonna add,
in this plan?
yeah, it's gonna be a roadway for automobiles, 12 feet each to accommodate automobiles, and then another 6 feet. For, is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So they increase 22 to 36 feet.
It's
So,
whatever it works out to be, you know, once they get into the design phase, you know, I mean, it could be a foot one way or the other.
so Britt, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, just point of clarity. And so Michael, will this include things like speed bumps?
Yes.
Okay, just checking. Is the motion still up?
Yes,
Yeah.
there's a first, or a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
No. Just because I want to match it to our strategic plan, in the direction we've been given by the town.
So there's 4 ayes, 1 no.
So as they move forward, who will they be talking with? Just, the road department or
Well,
is it?
let's hold that, because that's not part of this discussion. So what I had done is put the motion to move into executive session to discuss pending or reasonably imminent litigation pursuant to Utah Code 52-4205. Do we want to do that now, or do we want to move it to the end of the meeting? Any preferences?
People waiting probably appreciate having the meeting and then that at the end, since we're not meeting our lawyer.
Is everyone okay with moving it to the end?
Yes.
Okay, we'll move that to the end. Don't let me forget it.
So you're moving into a special?
no,
I have hearing aids. I don't know what it is.
All right, then we're moving to number 4, discussion and vote on the state of Utah contract from the Division of Outdoor Recreation, the Utah Outdoor Recreation Grant for Bluff Community Center Playground Phase 1. And I'll turn this over to Malia.
No, I don't have too much to say. This will be quick. So the contract was sent out to all of you, I believe, in your packet this week. So basically, it's just if you approve the verbiage of the contract, I can ask for Mayor Leppanen's signature and I'll send that on over. Our first meeting with Playground Committee is actually tomorrow. So I don't have too much to report yet. So should we continue?
Thank you for working on that.
Yeah.
Did anything else come up with the discovery of we can't work with Israel?
No, I have not signed anything that says we're boycotting Israel, so.
Boycott Israel.
I'm sure that making sure I have all the pages. So does anybody have any questions about it? It's pretty standard government contract.
No, it looks good. Yeah, just again, big thanks to Malia and the rest of the Parks Committee, Playground Committee. This is a huge get.
All right, then we need a vote.
Motion to sign State of Utah contract for Division of Outdoor Recreation, Utah Outdoor Recreation Grant for Bluff Community Center Playground Phase 1.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And Malia, I'm gonna hand this back to you because it looks like I don't have a signature page on this.
Okay.
I may just be messing up, but I'd like to move it off my plate.
All right, moving on to mine. Thank you.
And I'll need a copy of it. All right, the number 5, update on the 2025 elections and reminders of deadlines and obligations. So I've got this on for Erin and myself. At this point, what we have is another round of, as of late this afternoon, another round of figures from San Juan County on the election as to how they're calculating the election cost. We have not been presented with or signed the interlocal agreement. Apparently, this is going to the commissioners at their next meeting, which would be June 3rd, whatever that Tuesday is, the first Tuesday in June. But Erin and I have requested a meeting with Lyman Duncan. It was copied to, the request was made by me to meet Tuesday because Monday is Memorial Day. And I have not heard back on that request to meet, but as we're moving through this election, and I'll let Erin update what she's found out about how we would manage or not manage an election. It's beginning to feel more like we need to sit down with San Juan County and draw a hard line in the sand about this election and then look forward. Erin, do you want to kind of fill in what you have been able to figure out?
So there are quite a lot of regulations about chain of custody when it comes to ballots and the envelopes and everything, which makes sense. Unfortunately, I think it would be difficult for us to find a printer who would be able to adhere to those regulations. When we had spoken with the Lieutenant Governor's office, I know they had said like we might even be able to print in-house, which again, like our chain of custody could be kept under lock and key and everything. But there's certainly a lot of stipulations that go into how those things have to be monitored. And so I'm not saying that we couldn't do it, because I do think we can. I think we could carry it out just fine, but there is certainly quite a level of regulation that it might feel too rushed this year to try to do it here in-house. And so, I want to bring you all the most accurate information, but I'll probably send you some links with like some of the code as to like how elections have to be carried out. I think I am struggling because realistically what the county can provide for $12,000 to $15,000 is not necessarily worth like, cost benefit. It might not necessarily work, but it might be priceless to say like, we're not going to be the ones responsible if there is an error. So I think maybe just a little bit more information I can help put together so you can kind of make that decision. But I think we're kind of between a rock and a hard place. So if we are able to talk to the county and reduce the cost, I think what is challenging is you look at how they were calculating it previously, and it was much more palatable than just saying, oh, well, all the cities are exactly the same and we're going to split those costs equally.
If we have a primary, that has to happen in August, just so that doesn't give us a lot.
Is it August, September?
August, I believe.
August, yeah.
That doesn't give us a lot of time to print ballots and find out how to do all of that stuff, since basically it's June. That gives us like 2 months to,
Yeah. I mean, Erin, sorry, I'm raising my hand before I speak. Sorry, but like, so, I mean, I guess where I'm at is like, I agree. It's too early. That's too much to throw on her plate. They continue to throw junk on her plate. I mean, for me, I'm more like, say we'll do it, but we're not paying that bill, like not without going to court over it. I mean, it seems flat illegal, to single us out like that. There's no world in which we should pay the same amount that they pay in Blanding, especially if we have anything on the ballot, maybe not this time, but anything on the ballot that has anything to do with people who might be voting from across the river. So like, I don't know, like I'm much more inclined to fight it and accept that we'll have them do it, but not accept the bill. Like, so, I mean, I guess that's where I'm at, but it does seem illegal. So, I mean, and we know that they don't mind doing illegal things, or at least trying it. So,
Well, I think that given the current commission and the fact that it's going to the commission, it might be that we've got some sympathetic ears up there about throwing this at us at the end of our budget year going into the next one. When this came at us out of the blue. And the other is that Erin and I have talked about it, and I think we talked about it in the last couple of meetings. There's no way that any of the municipalities should be responsible for paying salaries for the people who are hired by San Juan County that our tax dollars already pay for. We can reduce our costs on the poll watching because we can provide volunteers. I've had a number of people say that they're willing to take the training and do the poll watching. I think we'll be fine on reduction of the interpretive services. We have people that can do it for under the cost that San Juan County's having to use. So there are ways to reduce it, but I think drawing a line is probably what we have to do for this one and say, we're not in a position to be able to take this on, but we're not going to be held captive either to $12,000 to $15,000. So I think that's a good suggestion that Erin had. Let's get a meeting, talk to the election official, throw ourselves on our representatives who are Commissioner Harvey, talk to Commissioner Mon. I don't know where Commissioner Stubbs would come in, but I think we have some support there. So stay tuned, but I agree with Erin. I don't think that the printing vendors that we would have available have this level of security we have to have. So that bumps us out right there.
Did we get the invoice for last year's election?
I have not paid anything
Okay.
since I have been doing stuff since November. I don't know if you did.
I asked that question when I met with Vint DeGraw and Lyman Duncan 2 months ago when the cost was still within the $3,000 to $5,000 range. And they had no idea if they billed us at all. And they were going to check into it, and I have not heard anything. So I can follow up with that again in our meeting. So stay tuned on that. That'll be coming back up on June 3rd, if not sooner. The number 6 is we've been holding off on discussing and voting on the changes on the planning and zoning bylaws, code of conduct, and policies and procedures that we looked at. We did approve 2 of them, which 2 I can't remember, several months ago, but we were holding off on it. The question of the anchor location. And so Chris McEnany answered it on May 19th and said that we need to have, bottom line, we need an anchor location, which means somebody from planning and zoning will need to be here to open the doors, to open the meeting. And the only way that would be avoidable would be in the short term, as we had during COVID, where we do a resolution and everything is virtual. But so planning and zoning will need to go back to meeting and at least somebody being here in person. And that information's been sent to planning and zoning. Trying to remember which one. Let me just pull this up.
So do the bylaws need to be changed then, or that part before we can't approve it then?
I've got all 3 here, just a second.
I think the rules and procedures were approved, but the code
Was it the,
conduct was. No.
that was the only question we had on that one document. The other 2 were. Yeah, it was the code of conduct that we didn't approve. because okay, so in number 3 of the code of conduct, rules for electronic or telecommunication meetings. It added back the anchor point. And it had been out because of, if I remember correctly, because of our resolution for COVID. So with that, we could approve the code of conduct changes, having that back end. So unless there's a substantial risk to health or safety, or it's been publicly ordered closed by, public health.
Where are those at? Erin?
They're on the shared drive.
But not on the website.
No, so the old one's on the website and it's just like on our homepage under the Bluff. If you are on the homepage and you're looking at the meeting information at the bottom, it's got links to minutes, public notice website, with rules and procedures and code of conduct.
So we can't vote on this today, right? Just discussion.
Well, we've approved 2 of them. We haven't approved the code of conduct, but
So is the code of conduct the same for town and for planning and zoning? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, yes.
Oh, it does say vote. Fine.
Yeah, so it does say, I was just checking this. So we could vote on that one. But the other 2 have already been approved.
And so are we, when we vote, are we having to denote the anchor language?
Yeah, yes, just say that,
Mhm.
that we're inserting the anchor language.
Gotcha. Okay, sweet. So, motion to approve, motion to approve code of conduct, and inserting, anchor location language.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
I'm staying, I don't see it. Where?
All right, so 4 ayes, 1 abstention. Then number 7, discussion and vote on the chipping services by Hamadou Chipping at the Cooperative Cultural Center, and a discussion and vote on the charges to the public for pickup of chip materials.
Okay, so, hey, me again. So we talked about this last week and I got some confirmation and feel a lot more confident. So I gave you 2 options last week. This is for a friendly reminder, the piles of wood at the CCC after a fire mitigation collection day. So it's basically the branches. And so Hamadou Chipping said that they will, we've option 1, truck, trailer, skid steer, and chipper to the CCC, $1,800. That is the cost that we keep the material. And then at that point, you guys can decide how we want to distribute it. I am happy to oversee that. Just if you guys tell me if you want me to charge for it, or if you want me to put a certain quantity on the amount that we give each person as they come in, up to you guys, and I'll execute as you recommend. So, per the discussion last week, we had determined there are plenty of people in town that would probably want the chipped material. And what I was going back to check was just if that 1,800 was leaving the material, and it is indeed. If we want to use Town of Bluff volunteers to move the wooden branches from the east side of the fence onto the CCC grounds, which I don't love the idea of, I'd like to use our in-kind volunteers in other ways, playground. It's $1,000.
And you probably didn't get a quote on if he took it and sold it inside.
I didn't.
It's
I think we should have the EMTs tomorrow night do the moving. as a show of our appreciation. Britt, go ahead.
No, I'm just going to say that I agree with Malia not to use volunteers to do that. That would be a heck of a lift, literally, to get it up and over that fence, and much better use of their time and energies. And it's not that expensive to have him do it if you actually go over and look at the amount of work that would take. So with that said, motion to accept chipping services by Hamadou Chipping at the Cooperative Cultural Center for $1,800.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
I-
All right.
Anyone opposed? It's unanimous. Then the second part of that was whether we wanted to charge people for the materials that are chipped. Is that right?
Correct. Or if you want to put, like I said, if you would want to put a quantity on the amount that each person is able to gather, so we don't have one person show up in the morning and take all of it. A way that you would recommend that I do this, or I can just figure it out and do it.
I personally don't think charging for it is worth it.
Mm-mm.
I think it's hard to get an accurate charging mechanism as well. I mean, I think if we want to limit it to like in a week, everybody can have one standard size pickup load. And then, I mean, that gives everybody a week to go over and get it. And then if we have leftovers, if you want to come back and get another one, great. But I don't know. Well, also maybe that's not even, maybe we should wait to see how we're going to distribute it to see actually how much it turns into. Because it could be, we could just use it to mulch at the CCC.
Right, that is a thought. Maybe we start with mulching around all of our trees at the CCC and then see what we have left. And then I come back to you and tell you where we're at, and then we can go from there.
Because
the town is paying
it
for it.
looks like huge piles right now, but once it's chipped, it might not look like such a huge pile.
That's probably a good idea. I'm not hearing anybody beg to sell it, so
No.
I think we just go back to it.
Handling the money and all the rest, and do we sell it by weight? Do we, maybe have different size raffle, and there's that much.
Ooh, raffles. Now we're talking. Get the spinning wheel.
Yeah.
A lottery system.
A dog station, a dog food.
Why don't you just let us know when you get to that point and we'll trip back on.
Sounds good, thank you.
All righty. Number 8 is a discussion on weed mitigation and list of areas for San Juan County to work on to spray. So San Juan County was in today. It looked like, unless somebody says differently, it looked like they were doing the county areas. They did UDOT, the shed, and then I think they did the jail and the fire station, but I'm not sure. I didn't hear from anybody that they were on private or on the inner streets at all. And usually I get that message that somebody's spraying. So do we want to move ahead and give them any suggestions for places and for me to find out if they're going to charge us?
I would like to two, and one is the storm drain system up on Cap Canyon Road, because it does have a lot of weeds piled up in there, and it goes straight down to the river bottom and eventually to the river. So I think keeping that under control in that retainment pond and above the dam. And also, we're gonna need some help with these trees of paradise. You can see how quickly they come back, and we're gonna need some help researching how to get rid of those. And I think if they did those two things, the pond thing won't take very long, but if they would help us with those trees of paradise, it'd be very helpful.
I'm also interested in, if they have any go-ahead mitigation, which probably doesn't happen right now, but later in the season, the road out to the Mission and perhaps the road out to Sand Island. Those are the two areas that I notice a lot of go-ahead buildup along the side of the road.
And send Leo running here.
And we just not volunteering. I know, I'm gonna borrow it, but.
8 West, that dead ends into the public land back there. That's a fair amount of road traffic, and it's pretty bad there. So I'll have them look at 8 West. Any other spots people can identify? Okay, so if everyone's okay with it, I'll just reach out and talk to, is it Frank Smith? Yeah, talk to Frank, although I think Don Andrews was the one driving around today. But I'll try to catch someone or send an email up to them. All right, number 9, an update on Bluff Waterworks meeting on Wednesday, May 14th, 2025. That is Luanne and Linda. And Luanne, thank you very much for doing that so that I can do something else.
Yeah, you're welcome. Go ahead, Linda. It's good. Start.
It was, it was a typical meeting. It was good. Everything was working more or less, mostly more. Everything was working. They felt good about it. So, it was a good meeting.
I guess I didn't bring my water board notes, but the thing that I would add is we discussed hydrant marking, and they're up for that. I've got one ordered as a sample to see if it'll go on and get the fire department approval and whatnot, but I'm trying to figure out, how many would need to be marked and whatnot. That was a good thing. And what was the other thing, Linda? We talked about quite a bit. It was great. Well, the radios, they've got radios on all but 2 meters. Oh, that was the other thing. They've got on all but 2 meters, and those, they've got to do a little bit of work on each of those. And then I also ordered a wrench. If a fire hydrant gets broken off, they are breakaway. So it's a UDOT requirement along a highway. You can't have something solid out there. That's why there aren't posts around it. Like at the turquoise, they can do it there, but you can't do it on the right of way because of the accident potential. So they break away when you hit them, and then the flooding starts. And next to it, at the meter is a turn off switch, but it takes a special wrench. So the one that I saw get hit is, personally more interesting to me, but there are several along the way there, and several of them would impact houses or businesses. So anyway, I have a tool now, and the fire department has a tool, and the water works has 3, I believe. And so they were all going to look and see how to turn them off. This Marks knows how to do that, but the other ones said they would also dig open a meter and see how to turn that off in the event we have one that breaks away.
Did they say if it was different than a regular
It is.
meter turn off?
It's square. It's a square.
Okay,
I
yep,
should've
no,
brought it as a
I know,
show and tell.
no, I know which one you're talking about.
But it's a big handled one, and but most of them are just for turning the meter. It's a different one, and we've got that too. But you can't if you just turn the meter off.
No, I know
there,
which one you're talking about.
it keeps it from going to the house, but this one turns off the whole supply to the hydrant. So anyway, we got one. So we have one in case there's an emergency. You'll know we've got one. Fire department has one. Wherever they keep theirs, but they would know. Fire department would know, but their next meeting is June
11.
Sorry, I didn't
No, I always have to look. I don't ever remember, but yeah, the second Wednesday of June. The 11th. Monday was right. Gosh, that's amazing. It's only like 2 weeks away.
Yeah, it goes quickly. So number 10, update on Bluff's Planning and Zoning Commission meeting on May 16th. Luanne?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I did not. Malia, are you prepared at all to update us on that?
Yes, I
Thank
think
you.
it was a really small agenda. we worked on the enforcement spreadsheet and we followed Amanda's recommendations that after she called Moab, she received like a 30, 60, 90-day enforcement strategy of the carrot and the stick enforcement strategy. And so we feel comfortable turning that back over to you guys so that you can take a look. We basically were talking about at the 60-day mark or the 90-day mark, essentially for different enforcements for different ordinances like sign or short-term rental, basically withholding a business license renewal, withholding a land use clearance or a certificate of occupancy, or just withholding the things that the town of Bluff can actually give the business or the individual if they are not in compliance, but also being friendly about encouraging them to turn in these necessary pieces of paperwork with, if you at the 60-day mark can provide us with a receipt of a bid or of a receipt of purchase, then it's going to be waived until that does get done. So the spreadsheet has it all written out more specifically, like with each ordinance, what we kind of recommended. And then we also started talking about our energy, what's the proper word for all that? The solar, wind, the renewable energy ordinance, where we had draft 2 of a million and just continuing to talk through if we want to create a density question for the size that your project can be of this for the project, for your size, for your footprint of your project, or if it is you have this much land and so you are in this zone and so you are allowed to have a solar project on your roof or in your yard or ground mounted. So a lot of different discussion, just basically thinking through it. It was very much a work session. There was a lot of discussion just of how are we going to make this work and does this make sense? So Amanda and I are going to go back and continue working on that renewable energy and explore further the idea of density, so that we don't, basically the question was, we don't want to turn all of our agriculture land into a solar farm, or do we? But if we don't, what amount of a piece of property can you actually turn into solar as opposed to keeping it for livestock or keeping it for growing things?
And you made a nice table showing that, yeah. It really does help to read those down through. And so we talked about ag 1, ag 2, ag 3,
Yeah.
Of where it would be allowed and not. And then solar and whatnot, like right now with Rocky Mountain Power, you can only produce on your property what you use. So that can all change. But right now they don't let you be your own little power company. And
Yes.
You can't be the power.
You can't share your power with your neighbor, your
You-
solar power with your neighbor. You can't build a large enough field that you can cover you and a couple of your neighbors.
You become a
Yes.
utility.
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. But that puts you in the utility class. But anyway, they've
Right.
discussed that quite a bit and working on that ordinance and trying to figure out where to put it. Is the main push of that meeting.
Yeah, it's gonna take quite a bit of time. If we know anything about ordinances, it took us about 2 years to do the RV ordinance, so you guys have plenty of time to think about what you want in a renewable energy ordinance and let us know.
The other thing that came up was view sheds of if
Yeah.
you put it somewhere that blocks somebody else, and then reflective panels that are, shining in somebody's window or shining off things. I did get some that were water solar panels, and I could not put them up. I knew that. I mean, just because you can't hardly walk in front of them. So if somebody put that up in your yard, it would not be good. And I've got some to put up, but I couldn't put them by the highway where I needed them without blinding people and things. But if you're not conscientious of that, there are definitely things out there that are too reflective.
Yeah.
And the same with the wind. You guys discussed the wind quite a bit to know, noise factor. How much noise can you put in your neighbor's yard or in your yard of the neighbor.
Yeah, so thankfully, there's a lot of federal regulations, and so we're hoping that we're gonna be able to just say must meet all federal regulations, including those glare studies, the sound studies, all the studies that you have to have done depending on the size of your footprint of your project, so.
And you mentioned the bird studies. All
The
of that.
studies,
Yeah,
so
a lot of that's
a lot more research to be done.
Well, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but that one needs to be fast tracked.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, it's been sitting for, not with you, but it's
Right.
been sitting for 2 years with discussion with the solar farm with AES, and I think it's to our benefit to fast track it. So whatever that looks like, thank you. I had a conversation with Chris McEnany yesterday, and the RV ordinance is under review, and you should be getting that back. So I would say by your next meeting, he should have it I'm hoping by the end of the week, but definitely in time for your next meeting.
So then
Sweet.
just for clarification, if that RV ordinance comes back, do you want them to focus on the changes that he recommends there or stay tuned on the solar renewable energy ordinance and get that one fast tracked and down the road?
I think that my personal opinion would be, after talking with Chris, there's very few recommendations that he has for it. And I would just say, try to devote an hour and send it on that to us. And so we can start crossing some stuff off.
yes, I love it. Love working through the list.
All right, then number 11. The discussion of closed fire season from June 1st, 2025 through October 31st, 2025. And now I'm feeling like Lou, I don't think I brought the information, but the closed fire season starts June 1 in the state. So you'll need a burning permit. And I've never quite understood how that works, but we'll get that posted on our website about the information, but you need to have a permit to be able to burn. And it's so dry that
You do, well, Price is the new dispatch, and so they've been issuing the permits.
so it's Price that they go to.
They're the,
Okay,
to the Price dispatch, which is who San Juan County turned that over to us.
right.
Those guys. And until it's super closed, what you need a permit for is open burning. Like you don't need to call them if you're gonna have a little campfire and that kind of thing. That's not a closed fire season. They can go to the next step and close it further. But like you don't have to get a permit to start your barbecue and stuff under normal closed season. It's the open burning. When you're gonna burn your field, you're gonna burn the fence line, you're gonna burn your pile of leaves, then you're in the territory of needing a permit.
Great.
So can you advise, so they're gonna call Price, do they need to notify anyone here in town? And can we put something on the website? Because like, this is the most common call I get during the summer, and it takes a lot of time to answer everyone individually.
Well,
So they need to call Price.
I would say we need to get the information straight from Chief Watt, Anthony Watt, just to make sure that it is, but generally they call him or they call us and then we tell them to call Price and then we disperse it out to the crew app so everybody knows that somebody's burning and you don't just come over with fire trucks and put it out and, cause a lot of commotion, but get it from him specifically what he wants you to put on the website.
So Erin, could I make a suggestion? Could this be a project that one of our interns works on, doing a little fact sheet that we could send around town?
Yeah. I think one of the issues that I've run into is that a lot of people want to burn on the weekends, and it seemed like there was difficulty reaching somebody to get a burn permit for the weekend unless you do it ahead of time.
If we can call Price, dispatch, they're there all the time.
When you say they're there, like the person who
Yeah, they answer
tells
the phone.
the permit, they're there 24/7.
As far as I know.
Okay, good. Well, maybe we can work, maybe it's operative, Erin can work with our intern who's doing communication stuff and get something out.
Yeah, because that's a good communication thing like that. And, and like you said, that Anthony will know if Price is only a Monday through Friday, but I've never heard that. Never had that.
Right, the next review of bills to pay, transfer from PTIF account. Erin.
No requested transfers this week. And honestly, not a lot for, bills to pay either. You should have gotten a link in your agenda packet. Are there any questions? I've just got like payroll and some minor things. The big bills come in the next like week and a half. Any questions, and can I get a motion to approve?
I make a motion to pay the bills as presented.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's unanimous. Number
Thank you for
three.
the packet, Erin.
Mhm.
It's nice to have it right here.
Number 13, review and vote on memorandum of understanding between San Juan County, Bluff, Monticello, and Blanding City for recognizing valid business licenses. I'll let Erin handle this, but I don't know what happened at the commission today. If you do, maybe you could.
Do.
Oh, good.
So
Thank you.
there was not, so essentially, the municipalities met, sans Bluff, we had kind of put in our 2 cents. But essentially this memorandum of understanding would be between San Juan County, Bluff, Monticello, and Blanding, which would enable us to recognize other municipalities' business licenses. Now it does say in the MOU that if a business has a physical location in the municipality, they still need to have a business license there. So if they have operations in Bluff, physical operations in Bluff, they need to have a business license. But if they're gonna go do, an event, or they've got multiple locations, or, they're kind of flexing around, then we would recognize other business licenses. If someone has like a temporary business license, so maybe they only sell at events, it's up to each municipality if they want to recognize a temporary permit from some other municipality or from the county. But for an annual business license, it would be recognized anywhere. I believe the cost, San Juan County has their own prices. They tend to be a little bit higher. Bluff is currently at $25 annually. Monticello is the same, and Blanding's at $50. But essentially at the commission meeting, there was not a whole lot of discussion. Everything is pretty straightforward in the MOU. And if anything, the goal would be that it'll be easier to enforce people having a business license. If they do a pop-up here in Bluff, that if they've already got a business license from somewhere else, fantastic. They're licensed and we know that they're following the proper procedures. It was included in your packet today. Are there any questions, concerns? As I said, San Juan County did approve it on their side. The MOU does indicate that it would be effective once everyone has signed.
Do we have a system to grant temporary business licenses?
We don't. So there's like an event permit on our, we have an event permit on our master fee schedule, but we don't really have that process. And what we were finding was that like the temporary license is almost just as much as the annual. So there's not a whole lot of benefit to someone getting.
Maybe they took this part out, but this part says that they're excluded and have to get a temporary one that can, float from town to town and around the county. Seems like that's what we would want, to be able to let people take their food trucks and things. And this says it's temporary business licenses are expressly excluded from the mutual recognition. Businesses operating under a temporary, seasonal, event-based or provisional license shall not qualify for reciprocal recognition.
Yeah, so if it's someone like coming in from out of state who just comes for like one event and they're not regularly doing business in San Juan County, that would be excluded. But anyone else who has like a regular business in here in San Juan County, in one of the municipalities, their regular license would be recognized by any municipality.
And so like the food truck thing and stuff, they're not considered in this.
They would, so yes, they are, and we do recognize, I mean, food trucks are really unique, by the way.
Do we have a permit process for food trucks?
They would fall currently under our regular annual, like $25, and then they would be good for a year.
And keep in mind that the state recognizes the food handling license regardless of where it's issued, so. And the food trucks have a special entire legislative code section talking about how food trucks are, so we, a couple of years ago, opted to not jump into that distinction and mess. So San Juan County approved signing off on this.
They did.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I mean, if there's no further discussion, then, well, even if there is, motion to approve or sign and approve memorandum of understanding between San Juan County, Bluff, Monticello, and Blanding City for recognizing valid business licenses.
One second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
All right.
Anyone opposed? It's unanimous. I will sign off on this and then figure out what I do next. Are there any other?
Just a reminder about EMS Appreciation Night tomorrow from 6 to 8 at the Bluff Fire Station. Lots of fun stuff going on, so please come out and show your appreciation for our first responders and bring a side dish or dessert to share if you have the opportunity, but otherwise we'll have lots of fun things for folks to do. And big thanks to Tim Hamilton, who's donated some pottery. So we'll be using those as donation. If folks donate $20, they get a piece of pottery. So thank you, Tim.
Thank you very much, Tim. So if there is no other, then we should have a motion to move into a closed session.
Motion to move into executive session to discuss pending or reasonably imminent litigation pursuant to Utah Code 524205, and we will adjourn from there.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's 5:17 PM. Anyone opposed? It's unanimous, so we're turning everything off and
I need to step to the restroom 1 second, so give me 2 minutes.
Britt, I'll send you a separate link